All right, guys. Thank you for everyone who's here in person. High fives around. Woo! All right. Thank you to everyone who's online or getting online with us. Real quickly, before we get started, any successes from our last call? I know we had asked a lot about creating a list, your core 25, and making those calls. Jessica, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I did it the day after. I had some, I blocked some time, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it because it's something that I don't do often, and I wanted to, do it for the Ignite class. So I did do it, and I actually got really good responses. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm happy that I did it.
Woo!
Yeah, I was like, finally, I got in touch with a lot of people that I haven't spoken to for so long.
Yep.
And I just kind of said, oh, I just wanted to, give you a call, see how you're doing, and we kind of got into that, and then had really good conversations, so.
That's awesome. And these are people we care about,
Yeah,
right? Or
yeah.
they would care about us. So it's the top 25 on that list. How about goals? Anyone like set a goal, like personal, financial, business goal that they would like to share with the group?
Brittany and I decided to do two listing appointments.
Yes.
We kind of have one.
Yeah, there's one on Dillon Street. So we're following up with them to like line that one up and off we go. And 100% yes. Just jump on Zoom with me. We'll go through like the
Oh,
listing
awesome.
prep and then in person as well. So that'll be a ton of fun.
Awesome, yes, love that.
Awesome.
Coach, so I'm just gonna say, so I make it out loud, right?
Yeah.
I'm a, I don't wanna say old, I'll say seasoned realtor for a very long time. But and I just opened my Ignite book from and it has a date on it, 2017. So, and this is the first time we've come really back into doing the big sessions like we did years ago. And so my commitment is that I feel like I want to delve back into education and start kind of over from fresh. And I think we're always learning, and I think that's really the best way. And Kurt too, Kurt and I are committed together that we're gonna like starting over, like we're kind of newbies. But I have the contracts and stuff, knowledge, so it kind of makes me come in a different place. But anyway, so that was it. So thank you so much, Philip, for doing this class. You're awesome. I love it.
Thank you guys.
Anyway, so no matter how long you're in it, every deal's different. You always have something to learn. So I encourage everybody to keep continuing that education.
Yeah, 1000% agree. And that leads right into, and we couldn't set it up even more perfectly, right into Ignite, because Ignite has been reformatted to really fit a value proposition created by us, the agents, you, the individual agent, right? It's one thing to say, hey, I'm gonna help you sell your home in the fastest amount of time, least amount of hassle for the most amount of net proceed. It's another thing to find something that really drives and moves you. And part of it, they broke it into 4 separate sections. First portion being real estate expert, right? And part of that is your mission, vision, purpose, value proposition, so much more. Lead generation, that's our portion where we're creating marketing, we're actually making the calls, making the contacts, and a robust way of a data system that goes right into lead follow-up. And then the parts of the transaction, this would actually cover the buy, the sell side, the listing appointment, the buyer consultation, appraisal, all the pieces that go hand in hand. Now, in between these events, we're also going to layer in events with the board of realtors. A lot of the training that they have there, these are tools that we already pay for. And so we're going to leverage the MLS, Realist, RPR, all the things that will allow us to be the real estate expert of choice, help us build our lead generation, help us build into our lead follow-up, and ultimately the transactions that will follow. Okay. Next, let me see. Sorry about that, guys. Here we go. The very first portion to give you guys an itinerary online and here in person is that our first 4 classes will focus on sparking your career, embracing your job, or in this case, I would say embrace your passion, connect with your market, and define your value. So a lot of times people in years past, we would kind of mosey over this portion of it. In fact, in years past, we invested 6 hours into just the goal setting and understanding your business. Here, they've actually broken into 4 separate categories. Not that we're not going to lead generate and do different things to get your business going, but knowing why you're doing the business plays a gigantic role. Like, it's one thing to be motivated for a few hours or for a few days or a few weeks. It's another thing to really kind of build a foundation for your career for the long haul. Okay. This is what we're going to be covering today. And if you go back a little bit, you see lead generation, generate your leads, grow your database. There's a full breakdown, open houses, social media, capture more leads through other sources, lead follow-up, keeping every lead. This is where we're really gonna start digging deep into command and the features there. So not right away, but we will need, everyone will need their command ready to go by that time. And then transactions, winning the buyer, winning the seller, working with buyers, make and receive offers. That's a fun one. We may end up doing something similar to that a lot early with some of the other training in the office with Louisa or with Rich or myself and other folks. Negotiating offers. Sometimes you just pull one of us aside. We'll help you with that. Don't wait till like the 18th or 19th class. You know, if you guys have a deal going on, it's like, what will it take to land this? Pull one of us aside and we'll walk you through it. A quick 10-minute coaching. John Tran reached out on Saturday or Easter or something like that about a deal in Carson, and ran the numbers, emailed him back, and he got the deal, right? And it was something super simple. Just, hey, talk to the lender, make sure they're good to go without a loan or appraisal contingency. I mean, if you can, but you really want to hit hard on disclosures and inspections. That's how you buy yourself more time. And that's basically the genesis of our conversation. If it's truly a bad deal for the client, you'll know in the first 7 days. Or if they don't give you the disclosures on time, extend your disclosure period. And now that still buys the lender time if there's other issues that may come up in that period of time, you're still protecting them through that process. So that's a kind of a cool little throw-in tip of the day. But again, don't wait. If you're in the middle of any of this, just pull me aside, pull somebody aside, we'll be happy to help. Today, we're gonna be covering a new way of thinking, our actual KW culture. Now, I know it's weird because we're all here, right? Maybe it was a culture that attracted us, and maybe this could be a refresher course for some of us. And for others, you might be hearing about our culture and way of thinking for the very first time and think, oh my gosh, I'm glad I'm here anyway, right? So there is a difference between our vision of doing things as a company, the fact that God, family, and business are like tattooed in most offices or everywhere you go, Keller Williams wise. That lets you know that the business comes out of Select Lens. If we don't have the first two items set up, whatever our faith is, however our family dynamic is, without those two things being in place, the business doesn't have a whole lot to grow on. You're gonna make some deals, you're gonna make some big money, but it's not something that will be lasting without those two priorities in place. We're gonna go into the value and the market center value, the KW resources, your career vision. This is gonna be your way of what you want your life and business to be like. And this is where I always harp on, hey, time block your day around your kids and around other things you do. But that was my vision. Someone else's vision could be totally different. Success system, and then we'll recap with ahas. I like to call them ahas because sometimes it's also funny. And then this is a fun quote from Gary Keller right out of the MREI. Anyone can do it, not everyone will. The question is, will you, will I, will us, right? Any ahas so far, anything that you guys would like to share with any of the slides or anything that we've covered in the last few minutes?
Oh, that chair, the red chair.
The red chair?
Do you want it over here?
I don't know how to stand.
I'm excited.
Are you?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well,
Yay.
I love that Christine and Kurt are like seasoned and they're still like, no, we're
Yeah.
babies. We want to soak it in.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's admirable. It's inspiring for us to be like, oh, okay, you know, it's not a bad thing that you don't know everything, and you guys know a lot. You know what I mean?
I don't know. But you know, Stephanie brought that up at Morning Mindset the other day, if you were on, about when you hear something, like the timing, like you perceive something different at different stages in your life.
Absolutely.
So like, as long as I've done, I don't know, 80 RPAs, I mean, a lot of them or whatever. Liz took a class on that from Rich, and I had different thought. I'm like, oh, now I really get it. Like, instead of like just writing it out for rote, like you just hear it differently. I don't know if I'm explaining that right.
no,
And
totally.
so that's like here, and sometimes we get so busy in the minutia of the work, we forget the basics. So going back and, I really admire you for your time blocking and your schedule, and I don't do that. I can tell you right now, I'm not good at that. I need to work on that, so.
Yeah, I'm with you
Hi,
guys.
Curdy.
It never ends. One of the things I've done Ignite every year except for last year. And the only reason I didn't last year is they had it on one day on a Saturday, and I was like, Saturdays are crazy. Last year was the only year I did not do Ignite, whether as a student or as an instructor. And what I found from Ignite, just your perspective definitely changes. at some point, you know, I was overworking and spending no time, or it was basically back to my prior career, like all the time in the office, all the time at work. And it totally lost sight of why we were in real estate in the first place, right? So being able to say, oh shoot, I am being the same a-hole I was in the previous career.
We're
Well,
never an a-hole, I'm sure.
well, with in terms of like the family aspect of like, oh, hey, we're gonna sacrifice now for the gain.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? Especially with what we want to accomplish. So this hit me in a sense of, anyone can spend time with their family. This is just me talking to myself, right? Not everyone will, or not anyone can build a business, but will they build it in such a way that, hey, they can accomplish their goals, right? And it's different for everybody. You know, some people will justify different things, and that's totally fine. That's the decision. And all of us will individually decide what is ultimately the fit for us, right? Here are the 6 personal perspectives. And this is, if you want to call it a Gary, the KW-ism of sort, it's committing to self-mastery, committing to the 80-20 principle, moving from E to P, being learning-based the foundation of your action plan. And that's a big testimony to everyone who's here today. Removing your limiting beliefs and being accountable. Okay, so let's see the first one, go through. Commit to self-mastery. Know your goals. So that was a big part of our one of the things we wanted to cover was knowing your goals going up front, going into it. For me, real estate was a way for me to get away from being broke, depending on government help and sources. It was a way for me and my family to have quality time together and not be dependent upon my mom or anything else or anyone else. And then eventually I lost sight of that because we were making money and it was a whole different thing. But you know, you start with those goals in mind and then you build towards that and around. And as you hit them or you get close to achieving them, like all of a sudden the view changes, right? Like, oh, I didn't see this before. I just saw this. I just want to get out of this hole. Now I see this whole playing field, right? Know your strengths and weaknesses. Who here has done a disc profile or a KPA? Show of hands. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think it's part of uploading.
Oh, okay.
Not uploading, what's it called?
Onboarding. Okay, cool. So this is a very good sign. So everyone kind of has an idea of your disc profile, what their strengths are. And I don't want to call that weaknesses, but just where your meters are higher than the rest, right? So knowing going in, I'm an IS, right? My wife's a DC, so we literally complete each other, right? Opposites attract in our case, type of thing. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses will play a big role because when you're introduced to different ideas of doing things, you can immediately know, like, oh yeah, door knocking, crushing it. We'll do it, not a big deal. Ooh, cold calling though. Okay, not my strongest point, but where can I shore up, right? It might be, hey, I love being around people, so I'm gonna jump on that open house thing. I'm gonna learn it, I'm gonna master it, because I love being around strangers coming to the house. No, that's like shooting fish in a barrel. Awesome. Then you triple down on that. Like you guys do Dylan again, you guys are awesome at it. Triple down on that. Why work on something that just won't, move the needle for you? Know how to work with both your strengths and weaknesses to seek and master the necessary knowledge, skills, and habits to reach your goals. I summarize this as have people that offset your weaknesses. Like if you ever meet Maureen and Karen and Rick, Evie and Brittany, their strengths, we all kind of complement each other, right? And when I think of it from like an admin standpoint, having a TC that kind of offsets my weaknesses around details, the finer details. Like I get the bigger points, it's the details that I'm kind of lost in.
And sometimes it's your partners, your strategic partners, not necessarily your immediate team.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
I have to say that one thing I love about what you're talking about is that I've attended a lot of coaching in my days. And the ones I come to really kind of dislike are the ones that will give you a list of 100 things you should be doing. And you feel like a big loser.
Oh, yeah.
And you're sitting there listening to all these things that you're not even hitting a fraction of. But when you know your strengths and weaknesses and you hone in on the ones that you're good at and get help with the ones that you're not, or just leave those for later or whatever. I mean, you have the power to design your success in a way that's not gonna make you feel yucky.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't have to do everything. If you're really good at this and not so good at that, then get your business from doing this,
100% agree. I mean, there's a thing that rings true in my head. I forget who says it. Maybe it's Jim Rohn. But you can't be all things to all people, right? As much as we try, we can't. And it's a blessing, because imagine we had to know every single detail, we would never launch a business off the ground, right? I mean, real estate is so cool, it's such a team business, such a team sport. You could be the quarterback, you're the quarterback, you're the quarterback, and then you're, okay, hey, we need our blockers here, you're gonna run this route, we're gonna toss you the football, you can get us a first down. And that is, you know, sales 101, hey, we're gonna build relationships, we're gonna have a way to connect with people, build resources for them, be a consultant through the process, help them make their first move, and we just build one step after another. So that's, I think of number 3 as not knowing everything, but just knowing the right people. A lot of times you can go to Google and copy and paste, but a lot of times you're really learning from your network and the people around you. Let's see here. Commit to the 80-20 principle. Know that 20% of your actions leads to 80% of your results, right? And that's part of knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, because once you find out, like I tried everything the first 6 months in business, right, with real estate, everything. People said, oh, go door knock. Did it, awesome, didn't love it, couldn't stand the valley heat, just couldn't work for me, right? It was like middle of summer and I thought, man, this is crazy to be dressed like this with a tie on, going door to door, not gonna work. And I had longer hair than this, so it really wasn't gonna work. And then I started finding out, like, okay, cold calling's not working for me. My cousin just bought a house, didn't know I was a realtor. Maybe I should talk to people I know, right? And then when we started doing that and then started building a little bit of track record, I realized I got 1 sale from door knocking, 2 sales or 3 sales from cold calls, and like 8 sales from SOI referrals and social media, basically that whole pool of SOI, and thought, oh, well, gosh, I'm doing 5 hours a day of cold calls and door knocking. I'm doing like 30 minutes to an hour at best. And when I do open houses, I don't get a lot of people. So really, I'm just social media, the whole 3 hours I'm there. Well, God, maybe if I double down on this, what will happen? And eventually it overtook those other hours I was giving other places. And people laughed at me and said, oh, you know, you should be door knocking like a real agent. I'm like, I don't know. I like picking up my kids after school. You know? I like taking them to school. This is kind of working for me. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, I know people who absolutely kill it. Eileen is, to me, the unicorn. Her and Doug Pitts will go knock on doors and they'll find people who want to flip, people who want to list. And you know what? It works. You guys went door knocking and found a buyer. The tenant was like, I want to buy a house. Like, holy smokes, right? And I'm not saying it doesn't work. Again, know your strengths and weaknesses, and then work the 20% of actions that will get you to 80% of results. And it says 20% of your actions. It doesn't say 20% of your day, right? It might take a portion of your day, but there's so much other energy you can give to your family, to your business, to your growth, to yourself, in order to still achieve your goals, right? Moving from E to P. Now, this one I want to spend a little bit of time on. This is where we get into something brand new, business-wise. Anyone who's on Zoom right now, we may, for some of us who've been to more than one brokerage or anywhere else, the entrepreneurial approach says, hey, you're super excited because we're entrepreneurs, we found our way to real estate, we're just gonna go after it with natural talent, right? We gain success and then bam, we hit a ceiling, we get disappointed, we go into resignation mode. Whew, okay, let me recharge, maybe I move, maybe I read a new book, you know, maybe I watch a new YouTube video, and then bam, I'm off running. And then because we're still on that entrepreneurial energy, it's just that we rebooted our energy, we get off to another fast track, we hit a different ceiling or a similar ceiling, and we come back down again. And that cycle repeats. Now, in that story, you heard me say I tried for 6 months, I was trying different things. I didn't actually close a deal for 8 months, right? My first deal closed, it was a totally random thing. But for that 6 months to 18 months, it was this cycle. And it was vicious because I would take off, open escrows, close escrows, crash. Oh God, now we gotta kind of reboot. Okay, who are we following up with? What are we doing? What activities? What training can I go to? Got the energy, bam, do it again, make some sales, crash, repeat that process.
That's so true.
Yes, absolutely. Now there's a purposeful approach when we finally hit the ceiling enough times, we're like, okay, Randy D. Simone's doing something. Martha Carrasco, these are the people I was around, right? Randy D. Simone, Martha Carrasco, Stephanie Bataco, Eric Delgado. They're doing something that just consistently works for them. No matter what's going on, no matter what's happening in their lives, they're doing $500 million in GCI to $2.5 million in GCI on their terms. Okay, what is it? And you find out all their systems are very similar, right? A lot of stuff from Ignite. We won't give any credit to KW because they kind of came into the business with what Eric was born and raised essentially in KW from Remax to here. But my point is that they all have some sort of system that they follow, right? And I didn't have to follow exactly their system. I just knew, okay, sphere of influence, database, whoever you've met, stay in contact with them and be a resource and consultant. Okay, that's a pretty similar thing. And then you go into focus mode, which we do anyway. Now you copy models, add systems, and then now you make your breakthroughs through that process. For those who are online, if you're on the Mac, I think it's Command D3 and you're able to screenshot. So if there's anything you want to screenshot, that's probably one way to do it. Or we'll make sure that the slides go out in PDF format. Yeah, I'm gonna ask
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, thank you.
Are we able to follow along if we go
Yeah,
into
totally.
the thing?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to KW Connect,
Okay.
and then go to education under KWU, it should be like the second or third picture is Ignite for April of 2022.
Okay, cool. You are gonna send, he's gonna send it.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him to shoot it over plus the recording. So if anyone has some mic drop words they want to share, please do, and then get a copy, edit it, and then put it on your social media. So always fun.
It's in Command.
Oh, Connect, yeah, KW Connect. Number 4, make being learning based the foundation of your action plan. This is trivial pursuits lead to nowhere, and this is ignorance based. So it's like, hey, just knowing for knowing's sake. Like I call that Jeopardy thinking. You kind of go on there and you know everything, which is still kind of cool. Learning based, I know what I know, and there's more to know. Ignorance based, I know what I know, and I'll ignore anything else. Something that I got from the Stoic, and Gary Keller had said it on stage. You can't learn what you already know. Right? You can't learn anything new when you know everything to that degree. And in real estate, because everything is changing so much, you just can't use the same script when you're calling your database or following up with someone. You're not going to call them and say, hey, do you know somebody now that wants to buy, sell, invest in real estate? Eventually people will just start ignoring your calls. But if you're really being learning based, your enthusiasm for what you're learning, you just can't help but share that with the people around you, right? All of a sudden it's like, well, man, Philip and Monica would really benefit from a 1031 exchange. I don't even know if they know that they should at least look into it if they're thinking about selling their rental properties. Or, we've had a few times, we've had the trust attorney here. This is super basic stuff, guys, right? But the trust attorney saying, look, pass away in California without the property and living trust, it goes through probate. Even though you know who your heirs are, or who you want them to be at least, the state just still go through their thing, they get their cut, the attorneys get their cut, and hopefully your heirs have something, right? Hopefully they have you at least to kind of pick up the broken pieces. But if we're learning based and we're leaving every class, like, sorry, say I haven't been to all your classes, but when I would go to those classes, I would write down 3 to 5 minimum, sometimes 10 names of people for the core 25, and I would call them right after class. So now the education just wasn't an investment in my brain, it was a call to action. Like who can benefit from this that I can call right away, right? And then the learning base actually comes from also a place of humility. Now, when you're on the phone with somebody, now it's not just, oh, hey, how can I get the appointment or the deal from them? And who here has heard someone on the phone, you're kind of building a relationship with them, and that's all prospecting is, right? We're connecting with them to create a relationship and maintain a relationship. And like, hey, they're not going to sell. They're not going to list. You're not going to get the listing appointment. We're not going to convert on this call. That's happened, right? Show of hands. Totally. Okay. So on that base, being learning based, now they're like, great. Well, tell me more about what got you the Granada Hills. Oh, at the time it was whatever. So now you're learning more about them. Anyone who's here for Michael Cochette's both his calls or both of his Zooms, right? Incredible. What he said, he was looking for the crumbs. He was looking for those crumbs of information. How I thought of it was being learning based. Immediately you're learning about the person. You're taking that data, and maybe you can do 2 things. You can do 2 things at one time, and you can type in the notes as you go along, or write down some key phrases of what they're sharing with you. So by the time you circle back with them, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever your frequency is, now you can follow up on the information that you gathered from being learning based. And that's on the sales side, on the relationship building side. That doesn't even include the wealth building aspects, the coaching aspects, the family aspects. There's so many ways we can go with being learning based, but I'll just stop right there.
Hey, before we move forward, can you
Yeah,
go
fire
back
away,
to the
Monty.
slide? Can you go back to the previous slide?
Sure.
You know, what really struck, this slide, actually, I saw it last time when we were doing board or somewhere else. And this really, one thing really struck with me, which you may or may not have noticed, guys. On the left side, it says no for knowing sake. On the right side is no for doing sake. That is so important because a lot of people keep learning things, you know, they learn and learn and learn, but they don't really learn the things they need to actually do something with it, right? So I think it's very important to be focused on what you need to learn to do what you want to do. That's really the key over here to me.
That's awesome, Monty.
Really good.
And thank you for that.
I have to add this too.
Sure.
It's not just learning based, what can you learn but I always look at it as being service based. What can I do to help? Because if you help someone, if you put out that olive branch and say, you know, hey, have you thought of this, or giving them a new idea or what have you, then, you know, you've added value and they'll come back to you. I've been so surprised at the number of people who have come back to me and said, hey, can you help me with this? You did that thing for me that you didn't need to do, and you know, and now I need some real help.
Dude, that's awesome.
Very good point.
Yeah, because especially in this business, like I remember not my wife, a couple people at the office were, hey, why do you go to all the training? Like, what do you get from it? Because, you know, and they were coming from the fairy mindset, which is, that's not wrong either, which is, hey, you spend 80% of your time lead generating or lead follow-up, and that's the world you live in.
And doing all those 100 things, otherwise you're.
Oh yeah, otherwise you're a total failure. But what I told them was like, well, when it comes to learning, you're collapsing time frames, right? You learn something new now, then you didn't have to fail through 20 different interactions with people that you could have just learned by going to the class, right? One piece of knowledge that you can apply may save you 10 failures.
Yeah.
Right? You're still gonna fail forward, don't get me wrong. But hey, you're probably gonna have to fail less at applying something that you're learning for a client. What do they call it? If you practice on a patient, it's malpractice, right? And if you practice it, you learn, and you're actually just advising the client. It's probably a terrible example, but I can either practice on my clients and just F up that deal and their finances, right, and their lives, or I can go to a class. Oh shit, those are 5 good points to keep in here. And then when I see the same problems coming up, great, we can handle it, bring in the subject expert, thumbs up, everyone's happy, off we go. You know, I've done both. I've gone to classes and still failed for the client. Thank God we saved their EMD. Crazy story, my best friend, he's moving out of his apartment into another apartment on a rainy day, the one day in the valley that it rained after we had canceled and saved his money, but it was a failed escrow, and that was my fault, not the lender's fault. You know, he could have told us, hey, you know, we can't get him past FHA approval. That's a different story. This is why you get a mentor. You know, work through it, don't do it yourself. But that was my experience, right? Learning through failure and almost costing my good friend a ton of money. Thank God we didn't go to that extreme. So, all right. I am neither especially clever nor especially gifted. I'm only very curious, very, very curious. That's Albert Einstein. And a lot of times people will say, hey, man, you just have great way with people. No, it's what's people's favorite topic? We all said it. So if we talk more about them and ask them more questions about them, what they do, what are they into, all of a sudden, yeah, I love taking a call from Jessica for Sweet Chew. I get to talk about me. And they don't say that, but in the back of their head, they're more apt to take in our call because we're just coming from curiosity. And the more we come from curiosity, the more we relate, the more we can pepper in, hey, by the way, with everything going on, it sounds crazy, but we still have a plethora of buyers. Do you happen to know anyone who's thinking of selling? And indirectly, right? I just left a voicemail for one of the homeowners on a house, and he texted me back right before the class started, like, hey, I got your message. I know somebody who wants to sell. Holy cow. It might be actually your lead. You're referring to Gary from Unit 8 that we sold, he lives underneath. And then I think he might be talking about Fernando or something.
No, Gary, he also, the day we went to go take a look at the place and pass out,
Yeah.
he was blasting music super loud, leaning in and stuff, we're like, ooh, open that, doing that on the day, people are gonna wanna.
Oh, man. But
take a
yeah,
look and move in,
that
but yeah,
might hear me
we love that.
back. So here we go. And that's
Directly below?
Yep, directly below Unit 8, the second, the other building, not the one that Rudy lives in. but
Oh,
the
no,
other
then it
one.
was somebody else.
But he still gets the flyers stuff.
Yeah, I gave, yeah.
We'll source it. But yeah, he was like, and, you know, I bring this up because I had called him about the building and then played detective, right? But it was more like, after a while, I knew he wasn't gonna do anything, he wasn't gonna sell his house, you know, didn't have the goals or motivation to move, so it was really all about, hey, let's learn more about Gary. And taking the 5 minutes to learn about Gary allows me to leave a voicemail where he's like, hey, Philip, I have somebody for you.
That's cool.
That is so, yeah, it's very cool. And this also works with our kids, you know, who here has kids? You have kids? You're born with 7 kids? Yeah, so listening and being curious must be one of your superpowers, not your only.
And so that may be a reason why we should always leave voicemails, because sometimes I've seen people, they don't want to leave voicemails, but it's a branding thing, right? And in minimum, they'll listen to your name and your number and all that. And they might even call you back, right?
You know, Monty, on that point, it was 2014. I was making cold calls, and the 2 listings I took, one canceled because they signed with their relative, but the one that actually, you know, I sold his home and helped him buy another place. He said he got my answering machine. I got his answering machine, heard my message, and he thought that was a call from God, right? That I need to sell my house. And he's like, Phil, I heard your voicemail, and you know, all I said, Monty, was, hi, this message is for Robert, that's his name on title, for Robert. My name is Philip. The reason I'm calling is I have clients who are looking to invest here in Pacoima. And I thought, maybe if you were thinking of possibly selling, feel free to call me back, 818, blah, 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 blah. And he called me back. And then, you know, he's not the only one. There were people who did call me back. A few told me never call again. Okay. And then there were others who,
I tell you F off.
yeah. Well, man, you actually took the time to tell me that.
I know.
That's awesome. Wow, you actually took the time to write down my phone number, dial to tell me to F off. Man, you are having a special day.
So, you know, that happened to me also. Actually, I'm working with a buyer now who wants to buy in Bell Canyon. And actually, I asked him, he called me out of the blue one day and said, hey, I need some off-market property in Bell Canyon. And so I asked him, like, how did you get my number? Did you get on Facebook or something? He said, no, I have a builder friend. He gave me a number. And I didn't know that builder friend. So I asked his name, and I went and looked up my Mojo. And actually, I had left him a voicemail about 4 weeks ago. And he took my number down and he gave it to his friend, and his friend called me back. So that was kind of weird, but it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I got this from my wife. I'm gonna bring her up a bunch. We have a lot of fun stories. But she says, "Oh, they didn't leave a message, so it's probably not worth me calling back." But Dave, that was your mom. You should probably call her back anyway. But but to that point, it's like, well, it's not that
Doesn't
important.
Rich
She was,
Pasani say that?
Yeah, Rick was
Yeah,
on.
If you
Rich
don't
Pasani
leave
said
a
the same thing.
voicemail,
Yeah.
then you don't deserve to call back, which I kind of follow that rule because, I mean, you've gone that far. What's a few words?
Yeah.
yeah,
Youth doesn't think that way, because they feel like, my kids all the time will say, oh, I called you. I go, you did, I didn't get a message. Why didn't they what? Oh, did you see my missed call? I'm like, I don't call back missed calls.
right,
But now I know better with my kids, but I mean, for clients, you don't wanna do that either.
right.
Plus they
Right.
see that you called.
Yeah.
Now there's no hiding that you called anymore, right?
Mhm.
So they know you called, so I
So
just
you
leave a
know better
message.
the message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, when we leave these pre-recorded calls on Mojo, that sounds weird a little bit. So I think the best is to just actually leave independent voicemails even if we miss a call on Mojo.
Oh, 100%. And it's another way of connection. You just never know who your audience is, right? There's been a few times where people, and sorry to go down this track, but people would answer and say, hey, I got your message. Yeah, it's actually my dad that you were leaving a message for. I'm interested in buying a house.
Yeah.
Right? And we're still on those relationships that started off as a cold call, and now there's some people I've never even met in person until the meeting came around because of the pandemic, and then we met, and now we're out doing stuff, which is kind of cool. So here we go. Removing your limiting beliefs. You know, unlimiting beliefs is when you unlimit your thinking, you unlimit your success. A limiting belief is I don't have enough time for training, I can't be successful in this market, I can't devote 3 hours each day to lead generation. Can anyone relate to these aspects when it comes to unlimiting beliefs? Because we're here in Keller Williams, Calabasas, we're in real estate. There's a ton of, forget my language, bullshit that we overcame to get our real estate licenses and to be here, right? I had a ton of stuff blocking me from so many items. Anyone here would like to share on that aspect?
For me, I would limit myself, my faith is big, really big.
Yeah.
But when it came to myself, I was really insecure, doubtful, and I just had to tell myself, if you tell your kids all the time they can do all things through Christ that strengthens them, then why would that not, go to you? So I had to like start rethinking. Even today, like I don't consider myself shy, but I do because I'm reserved, but I'm really friendly. I'm super friendly. So there's these moms that always talk, you know how you have the clicks everywhere. So I'm like, I don't like the spotlight, but I found out that a lot of people say, I like your smile. And so I was walking back to my car this morning and I passed one of those clicks. And I'm like, excuse me, I just wanted to say hi and what's your name, ask what your name was, because I always say hi, but I never know how to address you. They're like, oh, we were wondering the same thing. What's your name? We love your color, we love your earrings. I'm like, okay, this is a lot, but you know, I got your names and everything. I got your names, I introduced myself, and now I have made that connection. Now the next thing is, oh, here's my business card, you know what I mean? So you never know, but it's like, take the limits off of yourself. Like, you never know what kind of light you are to people. You never know who wants to talk to you as well. Because clearly they wanted to know my name, but I don't know if I seem like not approachable, but now they know, so.
Yeah, and it's what we had placed in our head that created that relationship or that barrier, right?
There's so many main brain blockage.
100%. I think of the people I don't want to call. Right? Does anyone have that, like a chicken list? We have folks, they're like,
everybody.
I don't want to call Joshua, whatever it is, because of the relationship or whatever I'm thinking about. But the moment you make the call, I say, okay, look, what's the worst that could happen? Either a wrong number from after all these years, he doesn't remember me, or whatever it is, make the call. Turns out to be the best thing I could have done from a connection standpoint. And that's business, right? Now, the same thing goes for other things around money, around success, around appointments, around relationships. Think of the limiting belief that you have. Like what mine is, I'm an F up. I used to say that all the time, right? That's a weird thing to say because when you say that, the F word has so many definitions around it that the universe is like, oh, we're gonna fulfill that bad boy all the way around, right? So I actually had to stop, catch myself, say, oh, don't say that. I'm failing forward. And that's where failing forward came from. It's actually a John Maxwell thing. Again, my wife read the book. I didn't read the book, I read the cliff notes, right? I read her highlights, right? Read her notes. But I basically turned I F up to I fail forward, right? And it's a big turn on limiting beliefs. Now I still say that because never perfect, never right. I'm failing forward, right? That's a flip on that.
Good question. What's that book called?
Failing forward.
Oh.
By John Maxwell.
John Maxwell, we did another one of his books for book club. That was one right now.
Which one?
I'll look it up. We did last week.
And Brittany sent me a text. We have to have extra copies of that book.
Oh, cool.
So we'll bring that one over.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd love to read that.
Yeah. I think it was the one book we bought like multiple copies of besides the MREA.
Maybe
But
we
it
will
was-
get one. Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to. And I'm a book club person.
Hey!
Fail forward.
Fail forward or failing forward. Yeah.
So
John
I have
Maxwell.
something to say really
Yeah,
quick
sure.
with calling the chicken list.
Mhm.
Cause when I'm making calls, I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't. So I tell myself, okay, the worst thing that's gonna happen is they're gonna be like, they're gonna tell the people that they're gonna talk to, oh my God, guess who called me? Yeah, she's in real estate. And I'm like, I just want them to know. So they're gonna tell everybody at least that, oh, Jessica's doing real estate now.
That's a
Whether
great way
it's
of putting
positive
it.
or
Yeah.
negative, at least they're gonna know, and someone's gonna be like, oh, you know what, I need her services, so, I mean, who knows, so that's what I tell myself, I'm like, I'm just gonna do it anyway.
Dude, that's huge.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of somebody right now, Rick Rosing on our team.
Mhm.
So he had a chicken list and he does Christmas lights at the end of every year, makes a killing doing it. And he's done it for these high-end homes in La Cañada for years. He knows them super well. I said, bro, you know, it took you like 3 hours to get 2 people on the phone calling the cold list. Just try it. Just call this list. I didn't realize it was a chicken list, right? And so he makes a couple calls and he can't get off the phone with these people. One of them wants to sell a $6 million home. Rick's on the radar. He's on the radar. He's not the guy that they're meeting with right off the bat, but he's on the radar from one phone call and a 15-minute dialogue with that person, right? I'm not saying you'll magically unlock the magic doors and sell like 5 $20 million homes. I pray that we all do. And maybe that's a limiting belief for me, right? I'm working on breaking through that. But he's on the radar, he's on the bubble. We're following up with that person. You know, they're debating whether to sell with person A for 10% or person A for 8%. I'm like, holy crap, that's amazing. You know, so there's other aspects in that dialogue, but that was off the chicken list.
Yeah.
You know, so high fives around. Yeah. Now this is a fun one, and this is something I fought for years. It's being accountable, right? When life happens, reality shows up. And if you're not accountable, you don't seek reality, ignorance, you fight reality, you go into denial, you go into blame, and you project it onto everybody else. I laugh because that's me, flipping, or still me in different things. Personal excuses, waits and hopes, and then plays the victim status quo. Whereas when you're accountable, you're seeking reality, awareness. What's the situation? What's really going on? Now I was away in Round Rock, Texas, come back. Ton of stuff happening with when you run your own corporation, don't run your own books. You know, immediately start with a bookkeeper, immediately start with a CPA, immediately work closely with your payroll company. Otherwise things get missed and EDD blocks your entire account and you can't pay your bills. Holy cow. So resolve that. But I could have gone into one path, which is like, hey, just put the blinders on and we'll figure this out, right? Or, hey, I'm gonna assess what's the situation. What's really happening? How can we overcome what's going on here? Acknowledges reality, clarity. This is the way it is. Got it. I'll see what's going on. Owns it. This is where the energy and focus shifts. If it's to be, it's up to me. What do I want? This is my responsibility. Extreme ownership. That's another book. Jocko Willink. You know, own it 100%. You'll find all solutions. Number 4, find solutions. Possibility. What are my options? How can I get what I want? What can I do? Gets on with it. Let's get started. Here's the action plan. This is what I'll do. Accountable, you can change whatever is in front of you. Being accountable doesn't mean you invest in a coach. It could be like Veronica and Brenda, our lead generation partners, and they get to be accountable to each other. I get to be accountable with my wife, to a degree my kids, they don't know that I'm accountable to them, but they're my accountability partners. I know I'm out of sync if I'm missing a ton of events. One event, maybe call my wife to pick up the kids because, hey, an appointment really is truly taking much longer or needs more attention. But if I go like a week in a row, okay, something's totally off.
Yeah.
With me and the business, I'm totally out of sync, right? So having the accountability aspect in life and business, they really do go hand in hand. And it's not just one person, right? And some people might seek with their faith advisor. That would be like your pastor or I don't know the other names, but you know, you have a faith advisor of sort. You have your relationship advisor, it's usually your partner, or if you do have a relationship coach, that's really cool. I don't have one. Your fitness coach or a fitness partner, your business coach, your environment that you're part of, that's also playing accountability. Being here is a version of accountability with each other, you know, and being able to share with one another our individual goals and what we want to accomplish is a big key to that. Let's see here.
That's a good slide.
Hey,
Oh, it's not in there? No. Yeah, Monty, far away.
yes, so you know, for a long time I've had this saying that I heard somewhere some time ago is get real and then get moving. And
Yes.
so basically what happens is that many times we're not real with ourselves, right? We bluff ourselves, we tell ourselves stories, we tell ourselves like, oh, this is this and that is that and the other. But if we are real to ourselves, that's the first thing to do is be real. Don't bluff yourself. Don't lie to yourself, right? Second thing is get moving on that. Like whatever you understand your reality is, get moving, right? So those two things together really make a difference.
Dude, that's killer, Monty. And because you can't be somebody else. I mean, you can mimic and copy. Like I consider myself a copycat. You know, I'll copy things that I feel like, man, that's awesome. Why repeat the process? I just copy their process and off we go. But you still have to be true to yourself. In my case, it's just how I shift everything around the family dynamic. People ask, well, what about you? What do you do for fun? Like, well, my kids are into. I enjoy watching my son fight in jujitsu. Fight to tap, fight to not tap. I enjoy the camping aspect, the scouting aspect.
You go to farm day.
Go to farm day. Thank you. I saw, was it alpacas?
Yeah, alpaca farm.
Alpaca
yes.
farm, that was cool. So, you kind of enjoy life through the process, right? Of what you time walk, what you get to do with the family and friends, and you experience life that way, which is always a ton of fun. Here to Rachel, or thank you, Susie, by the way, appreciate you, and a shout out to Cindy. Woo!
And happy birthday to Susie.
Oh, it's her birthday,
Happy
Susie!
birthday,
Happy
Susie!
birthday!
Right? It's a shot.
Aries.
Aries, way to go, Aries.
And Rachel, you're awesome. She's really, she's got the marketing down. She's
Oh,
really
yeah.
putting herself out there.
Holy cow, I mean, if honestly, Rachel, if we had your type of marketing on Team Off Meal, holy crap. We're actually just trying to modify that stuff on the program, but that's just incredible. And
Thank you.
oh yeah, you got it, Rachel, thank you. Most welcome.
I'm sorry I'm not there. My kids are on spring break, so we're at the farm. So I'm just listening while I'm taking them around.
Wow, well, you know what, priorities first, thank you for being on here as best you can, and good for you to be able to keep that going with the family. Because you know what, Gary Keller said from stage last week, you don't get time back with your 7-year-old. That time is gone, right? Once that period of time is over, it's over. Like my son is not the same kid now than when he was 7. That cuteness level, that factor of, oh my God, this is amazing, is gone. At 12, you gotta kind of up your game a little bit in a weird way, but that time with our family that we don't get that.
Wait. My baby's 28.
Oh my God. Oh man, we're not waiting for that. We're actually very happy the kids were, can you stay a baby a little longer?
Yeah, because 13's gonna hit.
Yeah.
It's really gone at 13 now. I'm glad I took my son
It
camping.
comes back.
Still slow.
It comes back.
Comes back. This is a big one. Happiness is not an individual sport. Now let that one sit in. Happiness is not an individual sport. We're here talking about family. Yeah, we're talking about family. We're talking about each other, and not finding happiness in an isolated cell or in a mountaintop, but it's finding happiness with the people around us, the people we choose to work with. And I'm not just talking about us in this room, but our clients, right? You don't have to work with someone because the commission pays high or it pays a commission. We get to choose, like, hey, do I really want to work with this dude, whoever that is?
I don't know if you can be happy if you don't have a sense of community.
Someone has to edit that clip and then just replay that. That's really good. I get some people who will work, but even like a Mike Lippman, he works from the community too. He happens to be in Hawaii enjoying the beach, but he's getting.
I've known him for 30 years.
Yeah.
Had multiple different, aspects of the career.
I bring him up for exactly that. He's been around for the longest time.
Yeah, I love him.
People who don't know him think he's an island.
He was my first commission when I was, 20 years old, and I first was in it. He was my first deal. And I remember people like clapping because I was like this, he was, my mother actually went to high school with his father.
Wow.
So I've known him for a long time. Yeah, he was the listing agent. So.
I bring him up from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint, we've been talking about family, what motivates us, what drives us. For sometimes with family, it might be to show them otherwise. Like part of it was telling other people in my family I can do this outside of my mom. Right? I don't need her. I do need her. I love her, but I mean, it's not her that's driving our financial security. Right? That's a weird thing to say out there, but wanted to show them, look, I can overpass her shadow we have. She's even acknowledged, like, hey, you've done it. That was like an awesome feeling. So for her to say that to me, that's just wow. But yeah, it's not individual. Part of it is that collective community. Some people find their happiness on social media, which is cool too, you know, I mean, that's each their own. But what I'm thinking about at least is like the core people. Like when we talk about the core 25, it's not just business things, it's like, man, these are the actual people I want to deal with. You know, if they don't want to be around me, well, great. Off we go. Ahas. Any ahas from our first evolution? Yeah.
I mean, in a great way. But I feel like accountability is huge because especially for me, I speak for myself because I'm in a job and to have that mindset of an employee rather than a business owner, it's huge for me to be accountable to somebody right now, which is aside from, like my family, my kids, my husband, my mentor. And I actually had a conversation with her yesterday. Via text, Jasmine.
Oh, killer.
Yeah. And we were chatting via text because I was at work and I was like, hey, like I want you to be harsh with me. I'm like, I want you to keep me accountable. Okay, what did you do today? Because I feel like for me to make that transition to become a business owner and do this like full time than having a job, I need to be accountable to her. And I need to do those action steps, like action plans for me to,
Absolutely. And you revisit what moves you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I'll just speak from experience, but hey, getting out of that situation made everything else so much easier. Like once I understood, like, oh, I'm not selling, I'm just connecting with people and finding out those who are ready to make this type of thing move, because it is a big move. This, for a lot of folks selling their home, especially in this market, this is the biggest financial move they'll ever make before they go to retirement. And for some people, this is their retirement, because 401k or whatever they saved in just didn't work out. They pulled out money too soon, whatever it is. So this is really their biggest move. And once you kind of frame it with your big goals and then understanding, wow, other people feel the same way I do about their big goals. Holy cow, now there's like this conduit of how to communicate with people, right? That's massive. KW culture, now this plays into what you guys were talking about. Like, hey, who you associate with matters. I'll just jump into it, sorry guys. So we have some of our culture stuff, MVVP, that's our mission, vision, values, our value propositions, Red Day, KW Cares. I'm not gonna get into all of it, but I can say one of the things that really caught my attention was KW Cares top right next to Red Day. And at the time, I had joined the office in Porter Ranch, and someone had lost their brother and dad in the span of 1 week. Brother died in a car accident, dad died from a heart attack. Totally devastating. I got to know him after the fact, but I had found out, this just wasn't just a logo thing. They actually covered burial expenses. I know you chills thinking about it. They covered funeral expenses. They covered all these other items and helped them stay afloat financially. Right? From what I understand, he probably committed out of $50, $100 from his transactions leading up to that. But he didn't even have to be like a big time contributor or even a minor time. Just the fact that there's an ALC committee that says, hey, we're going to step in, and you know what? Holy crap, that could have happened to any of us. We're going to do our part to help. And I've heard other stories. Same office. I'm not saying they don't do that here, but in another same office, one of the agents that died from COVID, right in the early days, covered kids' college, stepped in for kids' college, funeral expenses, all this stuff, because his daughter depended on him doing business in order for him to. And here's the crazy part: he had never done one deal. He was the brand newest guy. He was a marketing rep for a medical company. Got his license. Eric Borlas is his name. I worked with him for a little while. We had a ton of conversations. He worked with a different mentor in the office and all that stuff. COVID happens. He dies within a couple of weeks of this thing going around publicly. And Keller Williams and that office stepped in and covered all that and more. So this isn't just a company that just said, oh, hey, these are some catchy things that will recruit agents. This is like a real thing. And that was a big
There was
program.
something else, I don't know what you're talking about, but another one like in Orange County, something during COVID that I know we had that a few times.
Wow,
When they
geez.
reached out to other agents, asked them if they contributed to besides the KW Care as well.
It's
It
huge.
definitely is, our culture is different than any other real estate company. I've worked for other companies myself, in fact, many, many years ago, and just different.
Oh, yeah, there was that big flood or hurricane and flood that hit Houston, and they had canceled mega camp and said, okay, we're canceling mega camp, and everything we were gonna spend at the event, we're just gonna put towards the people that have been affected. And if you still wanna come out, great, or if you don't wanna come out, we'll give you a refund. But if you do come out, know that we'll bus you out to Houston, and we're going to volunteer our time that we would have spent helping the people down there. They said that they only got like 5% of people who actually asked for the refund. The other 95% went down there, got hammers, nails, whatever, and started working, volunteering for the 4 days out there.
It's the same, like, I did go to family reunion in Florida in February, and I can't remember what it's called, but there was like a prayer morning or something, and like, yeah, and they had a whole bunch of things about.
Inspiration morning with
Inspiration, yeah,
Mo
yeah.
Anderson.
Yes, that was amazing. Everyone was crying, just to say, but anyway, but during all the things too, which has a lot to do with Gary Keller and his faith and how the company is based, has that basis. And about all the other individuals, like they brought on stage individuals that were helped by, the person that got made his career, the veteran person, and then different KW Cares things. So it was pretty powerful to be in a room with, 12,000 people or however many people we were, and it was pretty awesome.
Have you ever heard the focus is health, wealth, and success? There's like KW Wellness, and Manny was a big proprietor of being fit, of not being, fit, but like just having awareness that, hey, it starts with your health in the morning. It starts, Veronica, you're the one who got me getting up earlier to say, hey, just do it, and just it'll balance out and turn up 20 minutes a day, as opposed to nothing. Wealth building, all sorts of different things. I'm getting my son into Kids Can, KWKC, so he can experience quantum leap. That first portion that we, right here in the middle, that first portion that we just experienced together, Gary has one for kids, ages 13 to 17 and then 18 to 25, right? So imagine getting that early on. I mean, I heard quantum leap recently, I'm like, geez, I wish I had this when I was like 12, like holy cow, that would have been amazing. And the list goes on and on. And
I want to
resonate
take that
with-
class. I do.
Quantum leap, that's the one. That made my whole week.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
Oh, it's literally what we just talked about, like kind of mission, vision for your life.
Like
And
the
having,
class?
sort of, yeah, you can consider it a class. I mean, it's a 3-hour event with Gary, or a 4-hour event with Gary Keller. And I just never heard him speak that. I mean, I've heard his stories on Think Like a CEO, the podcast, but not the way that he had presented it to us in person. You saw this a little bit, MVP, mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspective. It's that mission, and this is going to be coming from the Keller Williams perspective, right? So now this is where you can take what works for you, apply it. I think they're pretty universal type things, but take it in and then create your own mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives for your own business. Because this is where everything, the real estate expert, being the expert in West Valley, Calabasas, wherever, will stream from. Because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm the expert for the local area. I'm the hyper-local expert for this place. Well, why did you choose this place? Why are you choosing to devote your time to this? Well, every time you go back to your mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives, that will frame it. I keep referencing my kids, but they're part of my mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspective, right? On life and business. Missions to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving, right? Absolutely. This goes beyond just, let me sell my neighbor's house. Let me get on the call and let me make these calls today. This is, oh, cool, I can own more than one business? Well, damn, that's kind of cool. Wow, what experiences am I giving today? What is worth giving? What is an experience? Is it tied to money? Is it just time with my son? Is it picking them up from school? What legacy am I leaving behind? Jim Rohn was always cool about this. He said, you're going to leave behind 3 very important things. None of it was money, right? I don't know if he did say that at the end, but it's the books, the library you leave behind, the pictures, and your journals, right? Now, yes, it does help to leave an untold amount of money. My business policy always helps too, but you leave that stuff behind, but those are the 3 big ones. So the legacy could be whatever it is that you want to leave behind. You know, if I leave too soon, knock on wood, I've had the conversation with my wife, like, hey, there's some life insurance policies, you probably know about them already, here they are, and, you know, everything is set. Let's just put it that way, and the kids will one day go through my journals and my calendar and realize, oh, shit, Dad really did time block. You know, like, there's more purple on this than anything else. Like, yeah, that's the point.
So
Right.
I feel like this, one day I was inspired to sit down and write a letter of gratitude. And I put it, I hid it, I don't even remember where I put it, I don't care, it's for them to find.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Dang, it gave me
sweet.
chills.
And I know, I mean,
Get
I love that.
emotional here.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna do something, another thing, I was in some other program and it was about having those conversations now.
Yep.
And so I did, and it was kind of I called my, I called my three kids and I said, you know, my kids are all adults. And so I gave them, my opinion of them, which is usually, Mom, I'm like, they deem them and I'm thinking them. And I just said, no, wow, you're incredible, man, and blah, blah. And they were like in shock. Because you don't usually, I mean, I don't wanna say you don't usually have those conversations, but now when we all get together, I try to have a conversation or a question, and like Stephanie's giving me some like, what are you not doing that you love to do that, or what, or certain things to have a conversation with them. But I did go out, and it was somewhat uncomfortable, but I was really happy that I did it, to say those things, like what you're saying.
Yeah, because you can't get it back.
You can't get it back.
Yeah, and once it's out there,
And apologizing, like a lot of times I will be really quick to say, you know what, I don't wanna tell them what to do, or I come right forward to say it, I'm not perfect. I do the best I can to be your mom and different things, but I'm really trying to hit that pause and be able to do that right away with them, and they're like, what? It's a shock.
and those are the experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of why we're doing this. Because once you get the big why down and that emotional attachment to it, it's like, what's the no matter? And now the no is just a means to part of the journey, right? The failure along the way, the failing forward is just part of, oh, cool, this is part of the experiences we're getting. Oh, cool, this is part of the business is worth owning. Oh, wow, I'm going to the training, it's a career worth having. If this is gonna be a career, when you use like the vocabulary of career, you are a professional, right? You're not, there's nothing wrong being part-time. There's part-time millionaires who do real estate. Millionaires who do real estate part-time, that's the way I should frame it. But they're still professional, they still know what this game is about, right? So they dedicate themselves to it. And that's the mission of the company, and that's my own personal mission. I've adopted these elements into what we do, right? Because then people say, oh, you're just saying that because that's the company motto. Well, yeah, it's pretty darn good, right? It's something you can really build from. So take time when you're building your mission and values and everything else. Our KW belief system, Y4C2TES, and you guys probably know this better than me, win-win or no deal, integrity, do the right thing, customers always come first, commitment in all things, communication, seek first to understand, creativity, ideas before results, teamwork together, everyone achieves more, trust starts with honesty, this is the one, equity, opportunities for all, and success results through people. Now, there are going to be different times where different aspects stand out the most. Easily, you can think of a transaction, and this all applies. When you think of building a team, all of this applies. When you're working with your family, all these things apply. And these are, again, belief systems that we predicate our growth on. I say we, anyone, you could replace Keller Williams with your own company, with insurance, with auto sales, with building a church, there's different things. And these things will still, I would imagine 9 times out of 10 still apply somewhere, if not in any type of environment or situation that we find ourselves in. So your red day, a lot of us are part of that. What's our red day chair? Is that the LCU or something more?
It's part of the ALC.
ALC,
I don't know.
KW cares on its own, which is covered. Ahas, any ahas? I mean, you shared a really big one.
What was it? No.
Oh.
No, it was, I think I was just thinking about nothing.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you guys for that. We'll keep it rolling. Now, KW Valley Market Center, and then we're gonna skip through this. All the awards that the company has earned. Training, we're all kind of familiar with this to a degree. I will say, when we do have the bigger events, I'll talk to Stephanie and maybe we can do, because I went to my first mega camp not because I had money to go. It was because the market center sponsored my ticket, and all I had to do was pay my airline ticket.
Yeah, I did the family reunion and it was awesome. and I would like to go to mega camp, but I'm in the same thing.
Yeah, and so if there's a way.
Hotel and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, I think it would help if we figure out a way to maybe subsidize this a little bit, because again, because I experienced it on the company dollar, I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna just find a way to come back once a year to this, and sure enough, every year I found a way to go, except for COVID, and then everything was on Zoom. A different story. Eventually, when you invest in maps, you have a free ticket to all the events, and you also have priority hotel booking, and so because they're in Texas, call it what it is. Staying at the Hilton is not like staying at the Hilton in downtown LA. It's like $100 when you get the early bird pricing. So it's,
Not Florida.
oh, Florida was
Florida
crazy.
was super expensive,
Oh,
yeah,
yikes.
but yeah.
Yeah. So this is just stuff to kind of think of on the horizon. Value tech, we're gonna hit heavy on command. And truly, I'm not a stickler for command. I mean, look, if you're not using it and you're using something different, totally cool. I know Cindy, you're not on command, obviously, but what we'll focus on is how to leverage our current databases for this the best we can. The app, which I'm just starting to use, which is kind of cool.
The old app.
Is th-
Haven't done
is-
the new app yet.
Yeah, this is the new KW command app. Thank you, Emilio, if he's on here. I don't think he is, but he introduced me to the app. I don't check my emails.
Not that, this isn't the consumer.
No, this is the actual agent app, and then they have the consumer app. I didn't do that. Market Center. Oh, this one actually just breaks down the who's who. Profit share, growth share. We'll skip that. KW resources. Now this is replace this wheel with your team, right? This is the macro picture of selling, buying, and living. Now, again, I love Keller Williams, but I basically took this wheel and said, okay, who's my go-to for repair and maintenance? Who are my go-to for upgrades? Who's my go-to for movement? And I made them my strategic partners all the way around. Now, you do have the option to go all in-house with this stuff. I'm still hyper local with the people that I've built relationships with, and that's where we go with that aspect of it. But if you can tell, KW is practically almost everywhere. And this is where, you guys ever heard the terms follow the money? You know, follow where the big money goes, that's where the market's heading. So a lot of companies like Loan Depot is becoming a real estate company, right? They're oh yeah, so my good friends in Loan Depot, but Loan Depot is basically, they have their partnership. They basically own Mellow Homes. Mellow Homes is being run, I think he's still being run by Chris Heller, former CEO or former president of Keller Williams. And their whole thing is like, hey, if we already control the loans and refinances and we're working with new builders, well, why don't we just get the real estate, right? Gary's on the same track. I'm not saying, invest heavily on Keller Williams and all this. I'm saying create our own, right? Have your own network that establishes all those things. So now you're the hyper local, you're the resource consultant. And anytime they think of any of these items here, like, yeah, I don't do mortgage and insurance, but they're gonna call me. I can refer Cindy or someone from that team. They kill it, and I'm still top of mind on all these aspects, not just when they're ready to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So leverage those things to your advantage there. KW communities. For a while, I saw a lot of people sign up for KW Sports Entertainment. I honestly am not a part of any of these, but there are things. If there's something that really resonates with you, sports entertainment seems to be a big one for out here. KW New Homes. There's ways to specialize. And here's the cool thing on KW Connect. When you are looking for an agent for a specific area, I tend to use Maps Coaching because that's the community I'm part of. If someone were like, well, it's a military person, or hey, they're an athlete who's moving from Tampa Bay to LA, they're not going to search just any agent. They're likely going to look at sports entertainment and then do more qualifying breakdowns from there. So one of our classes, and maybe we'll do one sooner, is to create a KW Connect profile. Mine is very crappy. It's just a picture.
I just find a lot for referrals, and I probably have 2,000 agents on it already.
You teach a class on that. I
I
mean,
haven't
that's
got any referrals yet from it, but I try to keep active with that, and that basically was what Family Green Show staff.
Wow.
Family was learning, but it's also got connecting. I mean, I met agents all over the world there.
So there's obviously different ways to go about that. For KW Commercial, again, shout out to Manny. He really built a very solid type of crew around KW KW commercial, and that is like an animal on its own, right? So if ever there's something that really resonates with you and you want to be super successful at quote unquote one thing that made everything else either easier or unnecessary, this could be an answer in that realm that we're already a part of. Hans, we'll blast over, sorry guys, your career vision. Now this is one that to take some time to think about. Today it's April 20th, and 1 year from now, your business is thriving, your life is everything you dreamed of, your customers rave about experiences and value you provide, your family and friends are so proud of your success and are consistently referring business and people your way. You are helping others live their dream of owning a home because you're focused on helping them get what they desire. You're building a foundation and momentum for your entire career, gaining relationships and experiences and the income you desire. You're the top agent in your market center. Kurt and I, rookie of the year. Woo! One rookie of the year to another. You know the curse though. You can only be rookie of the year once. You know it. You're poised to hire a part-time assistant to handle your 80% while you take care of the 20% that grows your business. You're on the path to fill in the blank.
This is good affirmation though.
Oh, there you go.
I'm serious, I'm gonna read this every day.
Yeah, please do. And this is,
That's really good. That's not part of this. I can't, no.
I'm telling you, it's totally different. I am so glad I logged in. I was like, oh my gosh, this is quantum. So quantum leap is basically what we're covering, deeper, in other words. But this is a year from now, and then you decide the rest. I remember something like this. This was actually too bold for me. And the fill in the rest for me was time with my family. I keep going back to that, but that's what it was. That's what it is, right? That's what it will continue to be. And I don't care if we have to like build a big team or whatever it is, we will protect that time with a passion, right? And off we go. Your big life. So now this is where we tie what that future is to a financial goal. Because it's not the fact of having the money in the account. It's what that money does for those different aspects. Like donate to cat habitat, $5,000, right? Or it could be donating to your school, your kid's school, donating to your pack, donating to your church, your temple, whatever that is. Sarah and Hunter get through school debt free, $120,000. A lot of the legacies and experiences and the things that we want to do with our kids, usually or anything, has some kind of monetary value to it, right? Like I wanted to do a trip to Disneyland. Well, I knew it was $5,000. A couple days at the hotel down in Anaheim, nice hotel, not motel, but the hotel, right? Doors are on the inside of the building, not on the outside. And then 3 days, park offer ticket to Disneyland. Figured out the math. It was right just shy of $200. It was $4,800. Budgeted $5,000. One time. My daughter doesn't remember it, but I have a ton of pictures. I have a ton of pictures of it also. Yeah, I'm like, you won. I know you did. But yeah, there's a value. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, what does it take to make an extra $5,000 on top of these obligations and things we need to do? Oh my gosh, it's not even one deal. It was like one deal would cover that plus then and then some, right? So you kind of have an idea of what these are, and now you have your big why, right? Your vision, and now you have your big life, which, okay, I'm not going to be a stingy millionaire or a stingy thousandaire or a stingy big top producer. These are doing different things, right? Factor in 20% for taxes, give or take. I know you could probably factor in more if you really want to add it. 20% is a fairly good number if you're incorporated. Talk to your CPA, it comes up. Pay off your mortgage, or as this says, pay off mom and dad's mortgage. Oh, like, my mortgage is $18,000. Like, I'm not gonna pay that bad boy off with $18,000. Yeah. Yeah, good point. Let's go to Webull and open up a trading account. But write out what it is that is in your circle. Because when we talk about sphere of influence, it's not just people we know, it's also what we're involved in. Now, I drew out my little sphere of influence, and yeah, CAR, SRAR, volunteer there. You got KW and all the stuff that comes through here. You got my kids and all the stuff they're a part of. That spider web just keeps on going. And then, yeah, some of it gets our money in, some of it doesn't, It's just whatever is your calling.
Did you draw this out too?
Yeah, I didn't draw it out. I did. I guess my brain thinks different. I did it in columns.
Oh, okay.
So I took a spreadsheet and then listed out like all the stuff and then just put a monetary note next to it. It's like jujitsu, $100 a month. Okay. gymnastics world, okay. I think that one's like $80 a month or whatever. Dancing for our other daughter, $75 a month. So that was like line item. Early on, it was like, oh my God, how are we gonna pay for dance? You know, and so the number one goal was be ahead 3 months on the dancing stuff. So I didn't like stress about that ACH hitting. Family confessing a little too much, but that was like, that's life today too, right? And there's just different things that are auto pay. Putting our bills on auto pay was like a huge accomplishment.
That's like
Right.
a relief.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to remember it because of some of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, but having that, I don't know what the right word is, but the freedom
Mhm.
to be able to do that is a big deal,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then your credit score starts going up. It's like, oh, hey, this guy's paying his stuff on time, you know? And the debt, you start seeing the debt come down, or because you stop getting the paper payments, right, or paper statements, and then when you go online, you're like, holy cow, I paid down debt, but I haven't used my credit card, and the payment's still going. Right? So, you know, just having that was like a relief in life a couple years ago, and then it's just you leverage the credit, you leverage the income you're making, so you can, you know, get loans, leverage into more property, refinance, whatever you need to do. But this is where you get to build that. To achieve success, you need motivation and inspiration for doing it, your big why. And that's something I've harped on a little bit in the start of Ignite, is that all this other stuff, the other 19 events that we're doing together is practically meaningless. All the classes, all the stuff, all the YouTube, all the sacrifice, it will only get you so far without knowing what moves you, right? Like we know what moves Cindy to a degree, we know what moves Christine to a degree, we know what moves me to a degree, and us individually, but we have to get really deep with ourselves, deep down inside to find out, okay, I'm gonna do this no matter what, and it's just not no matter what, it's, yeah, I'm gonna find a way to make these goals happen with the time I'm giving it. Otherwise, it's just gonna be another fail forward experience, which is totally fine, it'll set us up for bigger things. Like, it's not like I've been in real estate all my life. I failed like an MFer from 18 to, not really. Like, there was very little success in my world, financially speaking and personally speaking. The only success I had was having Monica by my side that whole time, right? That's my life. So that was the only bright spot, was that and my mom and our kids, our first 2 kids that we had in that world, right? But it was just a complete, and the biggest reason why I found Keller Williams was because I didn't know what I wanted. I wanted to be a millionaire, but what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to have $10 million in your bank account? You know, you don't have a way to say, hey, this is what it's for, this is what the bigger cause is. There's just a misconnection. And then those who actually did it, they were telling, I was a millionaire, but I was broke inside. Well, is that success, right? Yeah, there's a counterbalance. Gary Keller on the altar, I don't think it's in the slide. He says, living a balanced life is a fool's game. And the reason for that, you never find balance unless you're living on a rock by yourself on an island. And then you have all the balance in the world. But life is constantly this, right? Like I say, I protect my kids' time, but sometimes I'll have to pick them up from school, like, hey, daddy's on a call. And they're like, they get it. But that's the counterbalance part. And it's not exactly like this every day. It's more like, am I waking up at 4 a.m. every day? Heck no. You know, it's the counterbalance in what we do with our time and our life, right?
And what are your priorities?
Amen. Yeah. Once you get your priorities down too, I mean, this is some basic stuff, but you kind of fit in, prioritize and execute. Yeah, some days the kids are totally at the top of the list. But I also know when there's big events coming up in their lives, okay, hey guys, for 3 of these days out of the 5 days a week, daddy's gonna be like a high D on these things so that we can take the Saturday, Sunday, Monday on that camping trip and not, daddy not be a realistic a-hole or stuff that he could have done early in the week, right? I say that in front of my kids. They're like, oh, we get it, because we've seen him. We've seen daddy as a ballistic a-hole on trips when things aren't happening the way we mean it to be, right? Where your commission dollars go, the under agent, market center, business, taxes, your take home, not very fun. They're using this example to give you an idea of how you're running your business. Your net income goal is $100,000. Says company dollar and royalty cap 30,000. Obviously, ours in the market center is different.
It used to be that.
That's what I was told.
Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I came in thinking it was 30 because I was like, I left my other office was much lower than 30. but I was willing to pay a premium to come here, you know, then he told me, oh, it's 20 grand. Oh, dude, awesome. I would have done it for 30, you know, but, business expenses, total GCI, your average commission. So if your net income goal is 100,000, you would need to do 20 transactions to hit that goal. And we're gonna do a deeper dive on that. If you guys look up CGI calculator on KW Connect, and maybe Veronica knows the actual link, but you can go on there and play with these numbers, and it'll actually give you a full-on estimate based on taxes, expenses, all that stuff. It'll actually spit out exactly from a transaction standpoint. You can factor in your ratios and everything else.
What is the app or what is the?
Look up on the site CGI calculator. I'll put it in the chat.
Hey, Philip, can I ask a question?
Yeah, fire away.
How do you get this sheet?
This one, I'm gonna ask Andrew to email it or the PDF. Or I'll ask him to email the slides.
Okay, cool.
And then the actual one is CGI calculator. If you search it on KW Connect, there should be a link on there for it. And happy birthday! Woo!
Thank you for that info.
What was that? Oh, God.
Thank you for the info. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're
For some
welcome.
reason, it's not very loud anymore, so I'm like missing things.
Oh, crazy. Maybe I should go a little forward for next time and we'll invest in a microphone on our end. So thank you for that feedback, Susie. Appreciate it. Go right into success systems. So this is what we're going to be focused on during our actual time in meeting, right? So it's not going to just be like, hey, we're going to talk about our goals and the reasons why we're doing it. We're also going to be taking action every day. So the goal is 10 conversations, 10 contacts added, 10 handwritten notes, 10 5-1 social media engagement. That is 10 likes, 5 comments, 1 post, right? So that LCMP, I think some of you guys are crushing it. Jessica, you messaged like 600 people on HTTP. I'm like, that challenged me. I wrote that down. Like, okay. Wonder what would happen if I did that, right? And then enrichment classes, and we'll go into what that is. So this is the actual sizzle, right? Or I should say the steak. So our goals will be the sizzle, the reasons why we're doing it. This is the actual meat that goes into what we're doing to get us to that production level and those key points. And it doesn't say the type of conversations. It doesn't talk about the contacts that you're adding or modifying in your current database. Handwritten notes, I'll take this a step further and even say very positive text messages or emails, right? If you don't have their mailing address. But when you are connecting with people, we'll go through, but part of it is connecting with them on updating your database. You know, without saying those words, it's, hey, Philip, I was just reaching out to such and you go through the whole thing. Hey, by the way, I want to make sure I can either email you or mail you timely information. What's your best mailing address? And they give that to you. It could be a PO box, or an office, or home address, or whatever it is. Or you just want to let them know, hey, I want to send a gift over to you, right? And the first one's a handwritten note. Obviously, you got to talk about the do not call list. Make sure you're not calling someone a do not call list. But somebody had told me, like, if you're calling somebody and you're inviting them to an open house, and that's not a cold call, that's not a solicitation, right? So that's coming from a place of curiosity. Like, hey, here's a really good one. If you're doing an open house, like especially on Dillon Street, there was one I learned from Jamie and Ben. They were here yesterday, right? They had shared with me something really cool. They said, hey, an agent from Larchmont was doing a open house in a very busy street. So she took the initiative to call and to go door knocking, and she didn't pitch the property. She didn't ask if they wanted to sell or nothing. She went door to door and said, hey, I want to apologize. My name is Philip, and the reason I'm stopping by today is to apologize to you in advance. I'm hosting an open house at your neighbor's house at Jessica's home on Bluff Street. Just want to let you know, if you feel like someone's blocking your path, here's my card. Just call me, and I'll make sure that someone gets out there.
I gotta say, that's like 25 years ago, that's what we did.
Really?
Yes, I told you, it was a way of saying apologizing for the extra people in the community, and then also just to make you aware so that they weren't like worried that something was happening, because all these people are milling about. That was something, but it's kind of going back to the old ways.
It's just coming from
Right.
being helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to prepare you for something you may not be prepared for.
You know, when you talk about their neighbor, Jessica's home for sale, they're like, well, what's she selling it for? Believe it or not, $1.1 million. What? You know, that house?
Yeah.
That house, you know, so it's usually that's typical response. But this is a little bit of thinking outside the box. I mean, yeah, you have scripts here, scripts there. You know, doesn't hurt to Omaha a little bit. That just means go in a different direction. Jiu-jitsu thing, hey, counterattack in advance. In that case, in this case, powerful conversations get results, and we've been talking about that throughout. Lead generate, uncover motivations, identify objections, close deals, speak in terms the customer understands, build confidence. That's what we're all gaining towards. Purpose and benefits of conversation. Here's one. Did you find everything you were looking for? Go ahead, look around. And please let me know if I can help. So these are just ways to, this is conversations at the open house, but it's question starters. When Nina does the producer's mindset, she's a killer. Like if you can pick her brain on open house stuff, by all means, like have her tape recorder, have your phone recorder on and record what she says, because she actually has a much more deeper way of dissecting open house dialogue. So get fun.
Go back for 1 second.
I see my big screen TV.
Yeah.
This one, sphere definition, people you have met in one way, shape, or form. I love this because the sphere of influence isn't just people you've gone to birthday parties with. This is everybody. I have a big green book in my office, and these are people I met through surveys years back. I started calling them as part of the homework assignment from last week, and there were people who picked up and said, "Hey, I do remember you. Yeah, we are interested in selling our house." You gotta be kidding me. So that was basically a cold call in a way, but they were on the fringes of my sphere. And now I'm like, man, I'll just give you guys a script and you guys can call them in and we'll split them, right? But yeah, these are people I've met one way, shape, or form, and we're just reconnecting. This is called Facebook. And you go through your bad boy and you know like 2,000 people or IG, 600 people in your case, and you're messaging them, just kind of scratching at the surface a little bit. Hey, it's been a while, I just want to reconnect.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on my Facebook, I don't know. Can we reach out to them and
Absolutely.
what would be a good?
Super simple message. I use this with the people from my high school group. So 2003, last time I saw most of those guys, right? So the message would be like, "Hey Carlos, haven't seen you. We haven't connected since graduation day. It's cool to see that you're here on Facebook. The family's doing all right. How you been?" Copy, paste, send, change name every time. You know, and then if you truly don't know them and you guys are friends on Facebook, it's, I'm just making a name. "Hey Sean, this is Evie. You know, came across your contact info on Facebook. Just wanted to recall, how did we meet?" Question mark.
Maybe we have mutual friends.
Yeah, or you look at the mutual friends or whatever, and then maybe something sparks.
Okay.
But that's a great way to break the ice. And then I count it as a contact if you go two-way dialogue.
I'd
Right?
be like, oh, you added.
And you might get some of that, but it doesn't hurt to also kind of skim through their Facebook. They're pretty active. That's a great sign that you'll either A, get a reply, or B, you'll kind of know who they are on there. And if that still doesn't ring a bell, great, just send that message and reconnect with them. And if it's like, if you turn out, oh, it's a spam one, they're asking me for my account information, block them and unfriend them, right? So that's another way to kind of work through that. But yeah, these are just things that we already have access to. Doesn't cost us any more money than just a little bit of time to type one message, save it on our note app, and then copy paste whenever we need. And now we're building systems. Oh,
Would it be weird to like, so you can like figure out who you're doing birthday?
you can do that too. If you do the birthday, happy birthday ones.
Weed them out
I
that way.
kind of thought about that too, like for birthdays on Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great, you see it and everybody posts on the wall, happy birthday, but it's a great idea to see it on there and then go to your phone and text them directly
text them, message or however.
instead of doing it on Facebook.
Yeah.
You
Then
get 500
you
birthdays.
you get lost in the sea of people that do it, that you give them.
That's
So
true.
if it's a direct text, stand up. I just kind of thought about that
So
today.
that's genius. Yeah, especially when the birthdays fall on the weekend and you're not in business mode,
That's
right? Sorry if I forget your birthday on the weekend. I'm checking Facebook, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
I'm with you.
Facebook sometimes you don't check it, it gets a little overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
Day out, so.
100%. So that's again kind of circling back. Our sphere is literally on our phone, mine's on the ground, but you know it's all in there, ready to go. And then capture sphere on the move. When you think of and again, sphere could be anything. These are the people we met door knocking, on a phone call, at an open house, at a booth, wherever. But every 7 to 10 years, people are moving, right? When you think of the first person, so you're okay, I'm living life. I'm 32. I'm not 32, but I'm in my 30s. I'm gonna buy my first home, right? Boom. 7 to 10 years later, you know what? We need to make a move because of a job change. Boom. We're going through life. This is where you invest again, and then move. And I really have to sell my house 10 years later. Bam. Life happens again. I'm moving in my 40s or 50s, and then I'm downsizing. There's going to be an evolution.
Crispy on the end of that little road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man.
totally.
But think about it. You need someone in their 20s or 30s, and the average millennial is buying a home in, let's say, their mid 30s, right? In 7 to 10 years, they're going to make a move up potentially, and they're selling their home in Granada Hills or Canoga Park, and then they're like, hey, we're moving to Westlake. Well, awesome. Let's sell your Canoga Park home for $1.2 million. Let's buy. That's crazy to say. Canoga Park for $1.2 million, but Canoga Park for $1.2 million, $1.3 million, and let's move you to Westlake for $3 million. Right.
I was gonna
You
say,
just
yeah,
gave me,
we need to be at that.
you just gave me my little, tidbit that I'm gonna definitely, it's, look back and see who purchased a house 7 years ago and call them up and say, hey, you're due for a move. Just so you know.
This is 70 years.
Where are you going? What do you do? What can I do for you?
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you've been in the
I've
business.
seen 20 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. And when you think about the people who've refied and now they're using that money to help the next generation buy a house, we source some of the money on our listings, and we find that when you source it out far enough, the money was a gift, and the money can't refinance cash out. So that's like grandma and grandpa and mom and dad, however they refi, reverse, or just standard traditional refi HELOC. That money is being transferred over in a different way so that their family can enjoy the fruits of it, not have to wait till they die, right? But the money's there. And so you can kind of see those trends, and those trends will also reflect in our databases. Forward, this is the conversation, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. If you're ever lost in being curious with somebody, this is the conversation you resort to. How's the family? How's work? Or I never say occupation, but how's your business going? How's your work going? Hey, what are you doing for fun this coming up summer? And man, fast forward the clock. And this is literally what I say. Hey, fast forward the clock. What is a dream for you? I know we've talked a couple times, but what would you say your dream goal is? Oh, Philip, you just want me to sell my house. I can go live in Greenwood down. That's what you're saying. But seriously, you didn't have to sell your house. Money wasn't a concern. What would you like to do? And they tell you.
Are you not?
Really? You brought it up, right? But some people call me on that. They know I'm a realtor. Like, oh, Phil, you're just asking me because if I sell my house, I can live my dream. Oh, really? Can you? I mean, seriously, you sold your house today for what your dream is. Is that something that would actually be viable for you?
I wish, I hope, put my fingers across right now.
Someone did say that, but they just say, oh, you're just asking for your realtor. Yeah, sort of. But I'm also curious to know what dreams are. I can tell you my dream, and kind of connect there. Ahas, sorry guys, I'm gonna blow right through this portion here. Ahas to achievement, how has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindsets were new? Any thoughts on that? About what we've covered today?
Well, I think that it's today is almost a mirror of what that changed as far as just that sphere and the phone and touch, and that it seemed overwhelming at first, but just break it down and be consistent. It works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just do it, that's what they say, just do
Right?
it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, come from a place where your goals are in alignment with your actions and your plan.
Well, and I honestly, like, isn't everyone in this, I mean, yeah, we're in it for the money, so to speak, but we're really all in it to like help people. I mean, that's the whole thing, is we're helping people. I'm working with a guy right now that's very low budget, but he's an honest, hardworking tow truck driver for 14 years for AAA, and I want to get him into a house. I don't care where it is, and So anyway, I'm more concerned about that, being, performance. And what the paycheck's gonna be, because it's not gonna be that much.
Right. I'm with you. So there's a passion to it,
Yeah.
of service. And you think about the sale of real estate or the purchase of real estate, it's a byproduct of being a resourcing consultant, right? There's how many people we've connected with, lenders, insurance agents, attorneys. It pales in comparison to how many sales we've done. Like the sales we've done, like this small, the referrals and just being a resource is like this big compared to the sales, right? But all of that helping other people, like genuinely, hey, you need to talk to Asher Levin for your trust. You need to talk to Jerry Frady for insurance or whatever. All that is up here. And then when they thought of their policy, they thought of their refinance, they thought of their attorney thing, they think of Philip and Monica, right? And eventually they'll think of Team La Familia, and we're starting to brand that out, right? But the idea is, cool, we're here for them, even if we can't make a dollar helping them. But part of that is the conversation, getting into a relationship with people, maintaining the relationship with people. Part of maintaining a relationship with people is being that resource for them, that go-to person. Not taking the call right now, but when the calls do come in, you take them and you work through it with them all the way through. Now, I know a lot of people probably thought that this was going to be like all about sales and training and marketing, but how do you feel differently about this today than you did maybe this morning or from the last 2 weeks coming into this?
It helps with sales and training to do all this conversation.
Absolutely.
I like the support. You feel supported. Like with Bold, I like Bold, but it was too how I told you the spotlight, I don't like the spotlight. So I felt like pressure with Bold. But this is more like, no, we're here to help you, uplift you, encourage you, motivate you, you know what I mean? So I like that.
And one of the gifts of Ignite, it's like a workup to Bold, right? We're talking about 10 conversations a day, adding 10 to your database. Bold is really just like, here, go for 100, But then you didn't have a place to not organically, but a place to systematically follow up with people, because it was, you're looking to put points to the scoreboard right now. And that is a part of it. It should be a natural part of just where you're doing business, right? So
I just want to comment, some people are writing, they still can't hear very well.
yeah, I saw that. I think maybe tomorrow, on Friday, I'll just speak from the front of the room and then just have my laptop open so I can go over the
So I
slides
can
with you
let
guys.
people in for you or something.
Oh, cool. Oh, you know what? I can turn that screen on, mute that because I can read from there. These are pretty big letters, so.
And then can you show the participants for someone?
Oh, thanks, Monique. Appreciate that. But yeah, nonetheless, I'll speak from the front and all that fun stuff. Anyone on there?
That's good.
All right, cool.
Oh, I wanted to share with you guys something.
Sure.
I saw a lot of people don't like door knocking and cold calls and stuff. But I drove home the other day and there were eggs in all of my neighbor's yard. Like, you know how you have the little sticks?
Yeah.
I'll say, so a realtor put an egg in my yard on a stick and had their information on the back of the egg. I was like, that's so cute. They decorated the whole neighborhood. And they're advertising, didn't knock or anything. I'm like, I'm stealing that idea. I'm going flash.
Dude, there you go. You never know where the next
You
idea will come
never
from.
know. And my new thing right now is going into Sam's Club and Costco and talking to the demonstrators. I'm like, oh, may I have a business card? Because I'm a realtor and I'm looking for businesses to help my clients. And then I give it to them. They're like, oh, I'm looking for that. So you never know.
Yeah, it's never ending.
You never know.
For those of us on the morning call, that's what we were kind of talking about. Like wherever you go is an opportunity to create new relationships, stay in relationship with people. That's lead generation. Yeah. That's all it is. It's not a whole-hearted thing. It really is just finding new people to connect with.
Here's a tip, you can, every time you go out to eat, pay with your, the end, your check, just put a business card in there, like, buy
I do.
these,
Uh-huh.
or, thanks for the great service.
I do that.
Or,
Yeah.
can I help? And it's like so easy, right?
Dude, I'm like a caveman learning fire right now.
It's just so easy.
Yeah.
And like, you can usually strike up a relationship with your server.
Yeah, like
And-
appreciate your service.
yeah,
I want
exactly.
to extend myself and my services. to
Exactly,
whoever
yeah.
wants to
You want to take.
Yeah.
But
I'll
that's
take
just
my
an
wife to
easy-
this party.
Just an easy think about it. feel like I should go out and put my card in windshields.
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking that for
I
Easter,
mean-
some,
Oh,
at church,
man.
and my husband's like, oh my God, you should seriously just take all your cards and put it on the cards, but it was a lot. I mean, that day, but I was like,
You
I'm
just
gonna
never
do
know,
it.
right? And it
Yeah.
kind of turns out that it's just a little.
That's okay to do, like putting your stuff, okay, don't tempt me.
No, no. So real quickly, guys, our next session, not our last session, our next session is Friday, 10 a.m. It's Embrace Your Dog. Oh, that's the end of the slide. So on this, as a side note, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and shoot out the slides to everyone, just have access to it, review it. There's also a PDF version for the actual class itself. You don't have to buy the book. I ended up printing it this way, where it's like 4 to a sheet. I'm a nerd. It's kind of smaller print, but it looks something like this, where you print out 4 to each page, front and back. You can fit all 60, 70 pages onto 24 sheets, right? So it's just a fun way to kind of have it all there. And if you guys want to, you don't even have to do the student version, just get the, I'll stop share right now. But you can download the instructor version of it, and then that will be